Okay, this is a week 10 PHP Web290. This week I'll be focusing on PHP profiles. PHP is very good for setting up profile websites. When users log in, they can modify to their liking. Let's start at the end result, and then we'll work our way back. The link on the example for this week. When the user logs into the site, the modification, color background. In this example, they have a blog, forum, weather, and calendar. When we log out, by default, just has home page, about page, and then multiple links over here on the right. And basically for this week, you'll be modifying or adding an existing module on the left side here once a user logs in. And on the right side over here on the links, you'll need to modify this with real web links, external web links if you're choosing. So when they come to this site, they can register. Once they register, they can log in and then edit their site with a profile. By default, when this site's set up, it has set up with an admin account. So admin username, admin password. And I'll go and click on Edit Profile. Here you can edit information about the user. Change the color scheme, like from summer to maybe, or spring to fall, summer to fall. And maybe I want to only put in there maybe just a blog. Submit it. It's going to update that now. And they'll only have now homepage, about, member page, and blog. One of the things you can also do, and I'm not fleshed out on this template here, is right now there's just information, just placement information on homepage, about page, and member page. You can flesh it out with more HTML and code and images if you want to, and also the blog. So let's go ahead and go back to the example here. So you'll download this zip file. Once you extract it, there is a setup.php file in the folder that's extracted. You'll read that, which tells you basically to modify. There's the connection file for your local host, which we'll go over in just a second. And then you're going to browse out to your week 10 and to the subfolder setup. And what it's going to do is run up a whole setup files to set up your tables into your database as needed. It'll also create a user called admin by default with a default password of admin. You'll modify the links section of the page over here. Also add or modify at least one personalization choice. In the download here, you're going to have already, I believe, weather, forum, color available to you. You'll have actually a blog, weather, forum, and calendar on the download. You won't have the movies. You'll have blog, weather, forum, and calendar already there. And what you can do is modify those existing modules. Like for instance, I know the blog module currently just has the word blog in there, and you could modify it with your own blog or a redirect to another blog. Forum is already embedded, my guest book. Weather, same. And calendar, we're going to be using HTML5 calendar, which is there already. For this week, once you're finished and everything's done, you will submit the code to me below. You don't need to upload this to your external site, and I can run it on my local host. So I've already got mine downloaded here, this week 10 beginning, and I put it into a HT Docs Web290 podcast homework week 10. My connection file we'll look at first. Okay, so I have a database that we'll look at in a second called profiles. Username cconcle, password cconcle to the local host. So I'm going to go right to my local host in XAMPP, and you can do the same thing on yours. Go to localhost in XAMPP once it's running, go to phpMyAdmin. I do suggest creating a new database for this week, just to be safe that we don't overwrite other tables or conflict with other tables. I'll just walk you through how to do that again. You should already have a user in your database, mine's cconcle with password cconcle, and this user has full rights and privileges to all databases on the local host. If you haven't already done that, you will need a user that has full rights or all privileges on the phpMyAdmin. Then I can walk you through how to do that real quick. I'll click on privileges, add new user. I'm going to go ahead and click on I'll say my name's T. Smith. We'll do T. Jones. Make sure any host is local. I'm going to put T. Jones again in the password. And right now I'm going to grant all privileges on wildcard for this user. I'm also going to check all on global privileges. That way any user, any database that's this user is tied to will have admin rights. I'll go ahead and click go. Alright, looks like it successfully created that. I'm going to click on privileges again just to make sure. There's T. Jones. I do want to make sure that they have full rights to everything. Looks like they do. Here it is. This should be local. There you go. T. Jones local host is what you should see. So you should say your username, host, localhost, password, yes, meaning you've set it, all privileges to all databases, and has grant privileges, meaning you can create, modify, edit, insert, update on all tables within databases. So I've already created a database. I called it profiles. To create a database, you basically from your home tab here, your home button, let's go to databases, create database. I'm going to go ahead and type in profile. Leave it at collation, click create, and now profile has been created. Go back, it says profile has no tables. You know in phpMyAdmin if you have tables, if they have a parentheses, left right parentheses with a number in between. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete this that I just created. This database I just created called profiles. Or profile. So let me go ahead and check mark that. I'm going to click on this button here, which is going to drop it. Yes, I'm going to drop it. So we're going to make sure you've created a new database that the user, your username has full rights to it. Now if you've already created a username of your own on your phpMyAdmin, you can edit a current user in privileges by just clicking on the pencil, on the action pencil, and going through and checking all on global privileges, and then also making sure that the host is localhost. Okay. So once you've created the database and you have a username that has rights to that database, then you're going to update your con.php file accordingly. And here's mine. And that sits outside of the week 10 folder, wherever you've placed the week 10 folder. Now let's go into the week 10 folder. A lot of files in here, but pretty basic. When you first come into this site, the user comes into the site, they're going to be hit to the index.php page, which we'll go ahead and go there. And we've used the site somewhat like this the first couple weeks. Okay, the first few lines of code here turns off errors and warning and errors because in production mode. And if we were to turn this true to false to true, it would put us in debug mode to see all the warnings that PHP could have. Session start for session variables. Page location by default coming into this is going to be index.php. And then plug that into a session called page. If there is no session registered for my username, it's going to go to the main login page, main login.html, else it's going to go to the login success page and echo that out. Let me show what that looks like. So right here is, there's no authentication for the username, so you've got this username, password, login, and register. This whole upper part above the HR line, the horizontal rule line, is from this page here, the main login.html, okay, which has the username, password, and the submit button along with the register link. Okay, so when they first come to the site, my session variable for my username is empty. It's not going to be populated. So it's going to go to the main login at the top. If the page is logged in, they come back to that page. It's going to go to the login success PHP, which basically is going to have the username on the top of the page, comma, you have logged in successfully, with a hyperlink to log out, and then a link to edit profile. So I'm going to log in with the admin. Well, this side here we've not set up yet, so let's do that first. All you have to do basically, once you've set the con.php file correctly, you're going to have to build some tables. In order to do that, all you need to do, according to the PDF file here, is browse out to the setup folder within your directory for week 10. So let's look in the setup folder. The setup folder is one file, index.php, and all it's doing here is connecting to the connection.php file for authentication of that user to that database. In this case, it's profile. And then once they do that, they're going to log in. Make sure here. Log into to see if the table members exist. If it doesn't exist, it's going to create the table, if it doesn't exist, with these fields. ID field, members underscore ID field, members underscore username, password, fname, lname, email, phone, theme, and then attach the primary key members ID. or assign the member's ID as the primary key. Then it's going to go to the next section, which is doing a SQL query for members and inserting into this members table the user admin with a password admin. It's then going to update that table, which is called members with the admin user. Then secondly, it's going to create the module table, which has all the modules available. And this one creates table if it not exist modules, has a members underscore ID again, blog, forum, calendar, weather, and assigns the primary key to members ID. By default, it does not put any values in, well, it puts empty values in the first record. And then it kicks out an echo statement once it's successful that says setup successful, please delete setup folder. Username admin's been created with password admin, and a link to the index.php file. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that real quick. So I will have to manually type in setup. Now before I do anything, I want to show you in my PHP, my admin, that here's a profiles database I use. Notice right now I've not refreshed the page here. It says there's nothing to the right here saying there's any tables, but let me go ahead and refresh this to show you. Right now it's showing two tables that were created. There's the members table that I just went over and the modules table. If you click here in PHP My Admin, you'll be able to go to the browse and browse out to the one record that was created, record 1, admin, everything else is null. For the modules, browsing out to that, also has one record but null on all the modules for right now. Now if we click on the Start Having Fun, it's going to take us and redirect us back to the index.php page. From here we go to the redirect module for index. Since it's not authenticated and has not been logged in yet, my username is not a registered session yet, so it's going to go to the main login. I'll go ahead and type in the admin user. And now I have home page, about page, and member page available to me. Now I'm going to go into the edit profile and change some things. I'm going to do the theme to summer. I'm going to select the weather module and the calendar. Hit submit. It's going to update. .php page, come back, and now it's changed the color background. Give me two modules, weather and calendar. And now if I log out of this site, come back in, it should remember my changes that I just made. Okay, so let's go ahead and go further with our code on the index page. Once on through line 20, it's just showed basically the information that's shown up here, whether it be the login page or it's the admin or user, whatever username is, comma, you have logged in successfully, log out, edit profile. Going on further, it does apply the css.php file to this. We'll look at that real quick. CSS.php PHP file, it goes out and it uses the module for members theme to determine what the user has selected prior. In here, we go out to the connection string. It's passing the session variable throughout the site, my username. It does a select all for members, where members' username is equal to that session variable, my username, and it's going to be a numeric value because it's actually grabbing it from this member's ID column. So it's going to be a numeric value that's assigned to it. So in this case for admin it's going to be 1. So member username equal to 1. Then this next line, members result underscore MySQL query member, this runs the query. This next line does an array of the query and plugs it into mem. Now mem is going to have an array of all of the items within the member result, which is basically all the fields basically that are in the members username or the members table is available to them. So on the members table, you've got available to you member ID, username, password, fname, lname, email, phone, theme, which is right now set to fall. Okay. Now in there, it's going to expand it, and notice it's going to the members theme field only in the record, which is the very last field. In this case, it's fall. And so if members theme is equal to spring, it's going to call the spreadsheet CSS file for spring.css. If it's summer, summer.css, fall, winter, and spring. All these CSS files are already in your week 10. Every one of them are already there. Here's a cascading style sheets for all of the seasons for color schemes. Fall, spring, summer, and winter. And we'll look at just one of them here. We'll look at the fall. It gives a CSS for background. In this case for the fall it's purple. It also gives a font family, foreground, background, color, font size, border for left content, center content, the footer, banner. So everything you see on the web page, CSS file structures. So this upper section, left section, the body, and the links, and the footer is all a part of the CSS. And it's selected in that CSS module, css.php. Okay? So going back to the index real quick. Now we have our CSS applied here, on this line here, including the CSS before the header, end header, body, beginning PHP tag. And we're now going into an echo statement, which is going to echo some HTML for the div ID banner. And just note, in every CSS, there's going to also be a banner section here for the CSS files for whichever one that's been selected. So here's the banner. It's going to be lavender background, 50 pixels height, 0 border top, dark blue, border right, dark blue, left, dark blue, and family for the font type. So there's a div tag. It's going to actually, in this div tag, it's bringing in the header.php file. Header.php file is just going to bring in an image I have for the header with the 650 height and the alt information. And you can replace my image with your image if you want to. And again, the PHP or the PNG file I have is right there in the site folder for week 10. And that's what it looks like right up here. Okay, going on in the index. Next, it includes a menu.php file. Notice a lot of include statements in this one file that drives the entire site. So a menu.php file is going to be pulled in. And in this one, it's going to declare, first of all, a couple of array, one called mem and mod, and do a session start connection on line 7, bringing in the session variable username. It's going to do a query statement for members table, where the member username equals to the session variable my username. Then it's going to do here a select all from modules where that member's ID is matched. It's going to query it here and then do a fetch array into the mod variable. Then it's going to do in this menu section a div ID left content, which will go back to one of our CSS's. Left content right here. It's already been declared. Absolute reference. And it's going to pull in home page, about page. Then it starts the PHP session here to determine what modules are registered. So if there is a session registered for my username, it then goes out and uses that mod array that was first declared on line 17 from this fetch statement, which, remember, this allows this mod to have all information for the members module. And the name of the table is called modules. And we're looking at the members. If modules blog is checked, it's going to put a link for the blog. If forums checked, for the forum, so on and so forth all the way down. Now it's checking this information against the table, in this case, which is going to be the modules table here. And right now the modules table for this has calendar and weather checked for admin. Blog and forum is not checked. So if the items aren't checked, it's not going to show up on the page. So that's why only weather and calendar. If I go in here and check mark blog and forum, submit, go back to my local host here and do a refresh for the PHPMyAdmin, you'll now see a checked area in all 4. Okay, so that's the menu. That's how that's driven in from the index page. Next, after the menu, we go into get statement. It gets whatever page the users clicked on at that time, or at whatever link the users clicked on at that time. What I mean by that is, from the website here, as they're clicking on this, you'll notice the URL that's being clicked on. If I click on one of these, always has index.php on the end, referencing variable page equals forum. Okay? So page equals forum, page equals weather, page equals calendar, page equals blog. So whatever they click on, that's going to become a part of page. And it's using what's called the get page function, which is the very top of this is where page is actually gathered, right here. Page is actually gathered here. And so the get page is getting that information from the browser. So get page equals whatever that is to the right of that. That variable becomes the center content. And this next line 38, the div statement line 38 through 52, plugs in the page it's clicked on. After that, they have write content, div tag, which pulls in the links. This one you're going to edit with your own links. Right now it's just a plain PHP page with multiple Google links. I want you to edit this page to have some links of your own choice and own choosing. And that's it. So let's go ahead and look at some of the modules. Like say for instance they clicked on, for instance, forum.php. Okay. Right now I'll go ahead and type in some information here for a guest book, add content, be able to go in and edit that content. I believe we use this in weeks 2 or 3. All right, so it'll work. So again, forum, how does this work? How does this load in the middle of the page on each one of these? Whether it be forum, whether it be weather, whether it be calendar. So let's go ahead and pull up some of those pages. I'll do forum first. Forum.php page, and here's the secret to securing the modules from only members being logged, from only members view. At the beginning of the forum.php page, there's a session start, and it pulls in and include page success.php each time. The page success.php will come in and it's going to see if that registered username is registered. If it's not, it's going to always redirect to index.php all the time. So what I mean by that is, let's go ahead and log out of this. And I'm going to go ahead and try to just type in manually one of the pages I know exist here, like forum.php. Try that one. And notice it went immediately back to index.php. So I type it in, try to go there, it redirects immediately back to index.php just because of this one line of code here. This include statement to the page success.php page, so any page I want to secure, all I need to do is put in the top of that page before all code these 4 lines of code, which does a session start, really 2 lines of code, a session start and an include statement to page success.php. If that user is not authenticated as a member, then it's going to always be redirected back to the index. Otherwise, it's going to let them go through, because there is no else path here. So it's only if the username is not a session variable and it's not registered. Okay? So that's forum. And you'll notice here in the forum, though, once it gets past the security and they're logged in, then it has a PHP echo statement, which uses an iframe. And iframes are used in HTML to embed a site or a page into another site. And that's what this one's doing. It's going out to the forum folder, index.php, with the 100. And the reason you have to use these slashes is anytime you have a quotes that you're using within your script, within PHP. Notice I have a beginning quote here on the echo statement, and I also have an ending quote here on the end of the echo statement. in between, anytime you want to use double quotes, you're going to have to put in there, before the double quote, a backslash. Okay, it's just a backslash delimiter. It's where it reads it. So anyway, we're going to form.index.php, and that is actually here. We're going to form index.php, width 100%, height 100%, no border, and if the browser they're on does not support iframes, which browsers within the last 2 or 3 years all support iframes, it would give this message here that says if you read this, your browser does not support iframes. Okay, so that's it to bring in the form. Is using an iframe, and I also do the same when we're bringing in information for the other modules as well. And so if I log into this again and go to the blog, and let me bring up the blog module. This one just says a security and just blog. This is one of the pages you could edit with your own information, your own code for redirect. So for instance, if you found for instance like I give you guys a few examples of places you can go to find modules, but you can Google any type of search for blogs or modules, and it'll bring those in and give you code examples to bring in. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So these links here for games have actual scripts you can download and put it on your site. I put an example here of maybe YouTube videos. You can do an iframe for those. Flickr website, if you have Flickr accounts, or any type of photo site, you can do a iframe for that site. And this other one was kind of cool. I just found recently called Scribble Note, where it lets you put like writable notes on a page. Users can come in and it writes to that page using local storage. And so when the user comes back later, that note's still there on a sticky note. But whatever module you decide to add, so you want to add a new module called games, possibly, all you need to do within your folder structure is, in week 10, create a folder called games, okay? And then you'll also need, inside that folder games, all the code needed. Make sure that it runs in and of itself outside of the application, and then also that it's not tied to any databases, so just kind of standalone type of game code. And you can use PHP code, Java code, HTML5, Flash if you want to. There's tons of examples out there to find code for games that you can put in your site, or you might have heard of the term widgets you can put in your site. So anyway, if I create a folder here, possibly that say I have a game site I create, or a game module I want to put in here, is create a folder called games or game, and then I would also create a page called game.php. And to make it easier, what I suggest is, since we have like here one for blog.php, I could just do a save as, name this one games.php, and I'm going to go ahead and put in here just to show you. Save it. And then I would have to also update a couple things, and that's why I gave you guys a choice on your, this is a little bit more advanced, but if you did want to add a new module, you don't have to, but if you want to, this is how you do it. You'll need to go into your tables, specifically your modules table, and you'll need to click on the structure and add a new module for games. So we're going to add a new module here. That needs to be a varchar 7, I believe. What the rest of them are. And it can be null. And click save. Just make sure it matches everything else. Here's the varchar 7. It can be null. Good. And there is another code here I have to update on the update.php page. Again, this is if you wanted to add a new module. You can just edit the existing ones that are already there if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and put in here a variable for games. And also add to the modules a new one. For games. Make sure it's lowercase on that. Save it. And I believe profile also had to modify that because there is no selection for that yet. And the easy one to do on that, it's going to be a checkbox just like the rest of them. Just copy this last one for calendar. Add in one for games. Change the name calendar to games. There we go, save it. Now let's see if it's working. Alright, there's my games I just added. I'm going to check games, hit submit. And there's one other place I did not add it, which I believe is the home page or index page for menu. I'm sorry, menu page. There we go. So you need an if statement here. Save it. Here's my games module. There we go. Now that just added a new module. Alright, I know a few steps, but you can rewind and watch this again and see how I did it. Not too difficult though. Mainly you've got to remember is you're modifying a local host, adding a new record or new field to the modules table, and keep it the same as the other ones as far as field name, convention, type. Make sure it's nullable, and also as far as pages go, we had to update the update page information. In that, we also had to update profile. We also had to update menu. And that's it. And then we're added in successfully. So again, recapping, I know a lot of information this week, but mainly I want you to see the power of using PHP with modular include statements Also using CSS file information and tags and div statements to make your site dynamic and fairly easy to add new content from a user profile type of site. And so again, for this week, download what I've given you. If you don't feel comfortable adding a new module, modify the existing ones. I know by default the blog is totally empty. I did bring in for your download for this week, I did have a new feature this semester on the calendar. HTML5 is a very hot item this year on new content for dynamic creation of calendars, and this one's no exception. This code that was downloaded actually put in HTML5 is easily found. Information is easily found, and the code for this is for the calendar is literally 5 or 4 files, and that's it. It's got a CSS file, an index file, an image file, and a JavaScript code for the calendar, which most HTML code uses. I did give you some information on Java code you could download, a whole bunch of scripts for games, YouTube video. If you're going to do a YouTube video added module, just make sure what you're going to be doing there, if you do a YouTube video one, is you're still going to take and register or do a redirect with an iframe. Let me pull one up here real quick, like forum. And so for this one, if you were going to do a video, right now I'll go and put the video in the games that I just created to show you. So I'll go ahead and put the video here. I'll put a YouTube video in here to show you. So we'll go ahead and grab a YouTube video real quick. Maybe something of interest to you or something you want to show people. I'll just go and do one from a prior podcast of mine. I'll get the code to share, embed, copy that embed code, and now let me go back to the htdocs, and I want to go ahead and put in here in between the quotes the URL to the YouTube video, which is going to use an iframe, I believe, anyway. Make sure that does. If I paste that, I think it does use an iframe. Yeah, I can actually just use this code and put in the proper backslashes that I need. And I'll replace it. This code actually comes directly from YouTube to embed a YouTube video that I just showed you how to do. And let's copy that code. That. Games module, and there's a YouTube video I just embedded, and so I'm embedding it into the page for games. I'll go ahead and log out here. So again, photo site's the same way. Just do the iframe to the photo site. Once you're finished adding or modifying existing modules. Make sure to also modify the links. The links are found on the right side of the page. You can modify them to your choosing. Just make sure and replace Google with something else besides Google. But you are going to submit to me your week 10 folder compressed along with your con.php file, and I'll run that local. If you have any questions, email me as always. Otherwise, have a great week.